Before we go any further, if you care about serious history, real-world survival lessons, and overlooked defences that actually worked under pressure, make sure you subscribe to the Legacy of Survival channel right now, and share this video with someone who thinks World War II is already fully understood. It isn't. What we're covering today is one of those quiet, almost erased defensive measures that saved lives, delayed enemy forces, and still works just as effectively in the modern world when applied intelligently. This is why this forgotten World War II defense still matters more than most people realize. In the early years of World War II, nations across Europe expected invasion not as a possibility, but as an inevitability. Air raids dominated headlines, tanks captured imagination, but the real fear lived at ground level. Civilians worried about saboteurs, paratroopers, and small infiltration teams moving silently at night. Firearms were scarce, training was limited, and yet homes, villages, and key infrastructure had to be defended. Out of that desperation came a brutally simple solution that required no ammunition, no electricity, no advanced skill, and almost no resources. It didn't just slow intruders down, it injured them, exposed them, and forced them to abandon stealth. That solution was the widespread use of improvised anti-intrusion obstacles, especially caltrops and spike traps deployed around homes, paths, and entry points. These weren't medieval relics dragged out for nostalgia. They were actively manufactured, issued, and recommended by civil defence authorities because they worked. During the height of invasion panic in Britain, members of the Home Guard were instructed to deny access rather than engage directly. One of the most effective tools was the caltrop, a small metal device designed so that one spike always points upward no matter how it lands. Step on it, even with a boot, and you're injured. World War II versions were often made from welded steel rods, bent nails, or scrap metal scavenged from farms and factories. What made them effective was not lethality, but certainty. An intruder moving in darkness cannot avoid what they cannot see. A single injury to the foot or ankle compromises mobility, creates noise, leaves blood trails, and forces medical attention. For an infiltrator relying on speed and secrecy, that is mission failure. Civilians were encouraged to scatter these devices along likely approach routes, under hedgerows, at the base of walls, near windows, and around garden entrances. They were never random. They were placed where a human foot would naturally land when moving cautiously. You know, WWII planners understood something that, honestly, modern security often forgets. Fear and uncertainty slow people down a lot more than just physical barriers. A locked door, well, that challenges someone's strength. But a spike trap? That challenges their confidence. Once an intruder realizes that the very ground beneath them is hostile, suddenly every single step turns into a risk calculation. This is actually why caltrops were so often used alongside things like trip lines, noisemakers, or even just simple gravel paths. The point wasn't really to build an impenetrable fortress. It was instead to turn time itself into a weapon. Every second an intruder hesitated meant another second for defenders to react, to hide, to escape, or to signal for help. In occupied territories, resistance groups made use of this very same principle to protect their safe houses. Today, most intrusions rely on speed, surprise, and, familiarity. Modern criminals expect soft ground, predictable paths, and dark corners. The World War II lesson is to deny predictability. While modern laws vary and safety considerations are, absolutely critical, the underlying principle remains sound. Control how and where a person can move on your property. Gravel beds beneath windows are a direct descendant of World War II perimeter thinking. They create noise and hesitation. For rural properties, farms, or off-grid homesteads, understanding historical caltrop placement teaches you how to shape terrain defensively without relying on cameras or alarms. Paths curve instead of running straight. Entry points funnel movement into visible, controllable zones. Ground surfaces change texture to communicate risk. There are, practical examples of this drawn directly from wartime practice. During the Second World War, homeowners were taught to think like intruders. If you were approaching your own home at night, where would you step? That is where defences went. Modern application, honestly, follows the same logic. Walk your property at dusk. Notice where your feet naturally go. Those spots matter. Wartime manuals emphasized removable defenses. Caltrops were gathered during the day and redeployed at night. Modern equivalents, they follow that same logic with portable obstacles, lighting changes, and environmental cues that you control rather than permanent hazards. Another lesson was redundancy. One obstacle rarely stopped anyone. Multiple small problems stacked together did. An uneven step, followed by noise, followed by visual exposure. This layered thinking is straight from Second World War civil defence doctrine and remains one of the most effective non-violent security concepts ever developed. This isn't nostalgia. It's applied history. The Second World War forced ordinary people to solve extraordinary problems with limited means. The solutions that survived weren't romantic. They were practical, repeatable, and grounded in human behaviour. That's why they still work. Ignoring these lessons means relearning them under pressure. Studying them means understanding how security actually functions at the human level, not the technological one. The forgotten home defences of the Second World War remind us that survival is not always about firepower. Often, it's about preparation, awareness, and shaping the environment in your favour. If you found value in this deep dive and want more content that treats history as a living toolbox rather than a museum display, subscribe to the Legacy of Survival channel. Share this video with fellow historians and preparedness-minded friends, and keep these lessons alive by applying them thoughtfully and responsibly.